Good morning and welcome to One Baha'i, that regular show where, I just share a few personal thoughts about the Baha'i faith. Well, it's been an interesting weekend. In short, it seems like the U.S. is burning once again. I say that with sadness. For so long, the US and Canada and many other countries have been told to really look at the importance of race unity. Shoghi Effendi called it the most vital and challenging issue facing America. It's interesting because when I hear a lot of the friends talk about that quote, they usually say the most challenging issue. But Shoghi Effendi used the word vital. It's the most vital and challenging issue. That means until they deal with it as a culture, actually, unless they deal with it as a culture, they cannot survive. Vital means without it, you die. And once again, with regularity, we see rioting in the streets, we see people upset. And I find it interesting this time because now major corporations are taking a stand supporting the protesters. So many different companies, too many for me to name here, have come out saying Black Lives Matter. We need to focus on this issue. So understand that it's an issue that's very deep in my heart. It's one I'm very concerned about. And I wanted to share a couple of quotes throwing possibly a different light on the issue. But I wanted to start by pointing out that this is something that requires a lot of attention. In 2001, May 24th, to the believers gathered marking the completion of the terraces and the projects on Mount Carmel, the Universal House of Justice wrote a statement that caught my attention at the time. Excuse me, as soon as I begin recording, my cat comes up and wants attention. So there you go. Hi, George. At the time, they wrote, "Humanity's crying need will not be met by a struggle against competing ambitions, or by protest against one or another of the countless wrongs afflicting a desperate age." I just want to clarify something here. They said it won't be met by a struggle among competing ambitions. Now, I don't think that's the case here in the States. I'm in Canada. I don't think that's the issue in the States right now. I don't believe that the people who are marching are a competing ambition. They're looking to survive. They're looking to be able to walk down the streets safely. So many people, so many African Americans have been killed unjustly by police officers, and the color of their skin has been weaponized by white people. This is not fair. It is not just. And remember, justice is so important in the Baha'i faith. Even our central institution has it as its foundation. It's the Universal House of Justice. So, first, we're not looking at competing ambitions. We're looking at outright oppression. But they also say that it won't be met by protest against one or another of the countless wrongs afflicting a desperate age. So here I just want to point out the difference between a protest and a demonstration. Now, in the writings there's a lot of guidance about what kind of demonstrations we can support, which ones we should not support. But the difference is that you're not protesting against something, you are demonstrating something to raise awareness. When the people in this one demonstration in the States laid down for 9 minutes all over the place saying, "I cannot breathe," they were not protesting, they were demonstrating something. And this is an important distinction to me. They were raising an awareness without antagonizing. So the House of Justice goes on. They say, it calls rather for a fundamental change of consciousness, for a wholehearted embrace of Baha'u'llah's teaching that the time has come when each human being on earth must learn to accept responsibility for the welfare of the entire human family. Think about that. If we understood how to accept responsibility for the welfare of every single person on the planet, would this not solve the issue down in the States and in so many other countries around the world? It calls for a wholehearted embrace of Baha'u'llah's teaching that the time has come when each human being on earth must learn to accept responsibility for the welfare of the entire human family. This deals with racism, it deals with sexism, it deals with environmental changes. This one concept deals with so much. So I wanted to draw that quote to our attention once more, because when we study just those two sentences, so much is explained. Now, I had the incredible bounty yesterday of listening to a number of friends in Chicago before a prayer gathering, talking about what's happening in the States. And what I found so beautiful was just before the end, somebody said, an older African-American woman, she said, "I feel like I have been heard." That is such a beautiful thing to hear. For so long, people have said, we're not being heard. Martin Luther King Jr. said that rioting is the voice of the people who are not heard. I am paraphrasing, but he said something like that. And here, people felt listened to. They felt like they were being heard, and I really appreciated hearing that. I won't say we came up with answers. What we came up with there, I think, was an awareness. You know, I often mention that I grew up Jewish. And one of the things that intrigued me for years was the story of Cain and Abel. Because when Cain, before this point in the Bible, every time that something goes wrong, God reacts immediately. And Cain, as you know, murders Abel. God comes down and says, "Yo, Abel, where's your brother?" Sorry, "Yo, Cain, where's your brother?" Cain says, "I don't know." And God doesn't react, because I think Cain was saying the truth. I think he was honest. I think he did not know what happened to his brother. He hit him on the head. He fell down. What happened? Where's your brother? I don't know. He doesn't seem to be in his body anymore. God doesn't react to that. Then Cain says, "I am not my brother's keeper." And that's when God reacts. That's when he goes ballistic and says, "Do you realize what you have done?" And I wonder, was this talking about the murder of Abel, or was it talking about the lack of responsibility for your family? I think it's the latter. And when we learn to accept that we are all responsible for what is happening in the world, we are responsible for our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our daughters, our sons, then we will be able to move forward as a single human race. I'll probably be talking about this a lot more this week, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I just wanted to start off with that one quote from the Universal House of Justice. And I would so love to hear your thoughts on what is happening and on this quote. Thank you very much for joining me. Please keep the friends in your prayers, and we'll talk tomorrow.